The Industrial Revolution began in Great Britain around the 1760s because of the abundance of valuable natural resources such as coal and iron. This, in combination with the growing population of new workers in Great Britain, sparked the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution gradually spread to the continent of Europe in the 18th century. This period for Europe had significant societal changes and technological advancements.
It's important to note that the first invention of the telephone was by Graham Bell in 1876, and with this invention of the first telephone, it emerged as a crucial communication tool towards the end of the Industrial Revolution. It had a significant impact on business practices, social interactions, and setting the stage for future investments in the whole telecommunications industry. Early telephones required manual switchboards and direct lines, but the telephone was often limited service for the wealthy and businesses, which allowed for near instant voice communication over long distances, revolutionizing business and personal interactions towards the end of the Industrial Revolution. Electricity became a transformative power source in the Second Industrial Revolution, driving new industries, increasing factory efficiency, revolutionizing lighting, transportation, communication, and transforming daily life with new appliances. During the Industrial Revolution, significant shifts in work patterns, urbanization, and the rise of a middle class led to the emergence and growth of new leisure venues. People had more disposable income and more time outside of their long factory work hours, which created a demand for entertainment and social spaces. Some examples of these new leisure venues include public parks, music halls, theaters, public houses, or commonly referred to as pubs, libraries, museums, seaside resorts, sporting events, dance halls, assembly rooms, and exhibitions or world fairs. This change in leisure venues demonstrate the changing social fabric and economic conditions of the Industrial Revolution, which provided entertainment, social interaction, spaces for relaxation, and cultural engagement for a growing urban population. Consequently, this played a crucial role in shaping modern leisure activities and urban life to what it is today. The utopian socialists, particularly Robert Owen, had a notable impact during the Industrial Revolution, primarily because his ideas and practical experiments aimed at mitigating the negative social consequences of industrialization. Owen was a successful mill owner in New Lanark, Scotland, and implemented radical reforms for his time, improving housing, providing education for adults and children, offered healthcare, limited work hours, and established a company started with fair prices. This demonstrated that his success in New Lanark is possible to make a profitable and workers' well-being could coexist with one another. Yet, although Owen's ideas were overlooked by Marxist thoughts, Owen's ideas contributed to the early development of socialist thought in Britain and Europe in entirety, emphasizing the importance of the social environment in shaping human character and advocating for collective solutions to societal problems.
Mass production played a huge role in the European and Industrial Revolutions. It revolutionized manufacturing because with the introduction of machines, factories, and innovations like the steam engine, products which were once handcrafted could now be produced quickly and in large quantities. This completely revolutionized textile, iron, and coal industries, which allowed for cheaper production costs and larger production. Mass production also led to the rise of urbanization due to the shift from skilled labor to factory-based work, which caused the movement from rural areas to cities for jobs, which changed the economies and societies for Europe. Rapid advancements in manufacturing and technology also led to the creation of a ton of new consumer goods. Mass production made goods more affordable and accessible to more people. New machinery also brought the production of new items, including new transportation, tools, and more machinery. Products that were once only affordable by the wealthy became available to all people. This shift in production also contributed to the rise of consumer culture. The invention of the telegraph in the early 19th century had a profound impact on communication. It allowed for communication over vast distances and the rapid transmission of messages using electrical signals. This invention transformed some industries like banking, railroads, and trade because it allowed for quicker decision-making and coordination. The telegraph also supported the growth in global communication and diplomacy by allowing countries to communicate almost instantly. The telegraph laid the path for future communication technology.
In Europe, cities rapidly grew during the Industrial Revolution time period of Europe. This is because of the many factories that were being built in Europe that required large workforces to operate. This created several new job opportunities for the European population to be moved into new places where they created new transportation and other positives for people to move into cities. The steamboat was an extremely important part of Europe's industrialization. This is because of the fact that steamboats allowed Europeans to transport materials as well as people, which was helpful because it allowed easier transportation across bodies of water, which not only allowed a reduction in time, but as well as a cost reduction. And it also allowed for growth and industrialization of ports and sea travel. The invention of the radio was another important invention to the industrialization and social changes of Europe. This is because it allowed easier communication between Europeans, which allowed companies to market their products easier and plan out construction projects like factories or other infrastructure that required labor that needed organization and communication. Governments had demanded the mass production of several things, like weapons for the army, which needed factories to create them. This led to the government to fund all sorts of infrastructure, like factories, roads, and railways that needed the full support and economic funding of the government, which led to mass industrialization impacting the European environment. The Industrial Revolution changed why people got married. This is because before the industrialization, people were often arranged to be married. As more workers began making money, people became a lot more independent and did not rely on inheriting money, so people saw marriage for love and not money.
The Bessemer process was a method developed in the 1850s by Henry Bessemer in order to convert molten pig iron into steel by blowing air through the molten metal to remove carbon and other impurities. Thanks to the Bessemer process, it made mass production of steel possible, as they were now able to convert iron into steel much faster without any external fuel needed, leading to the major industry growth, especially in railroads, bridges, buildings, and tools. This later on led to the launch of the Steel Age. The Chartists was a working-class political movement in Britain during the 1830s and 1840s that aimed to gain political rights and influence for the working class. They implemented the People's Charter in 1838, a list of 6 democratic demands, including universal male suffrage, secret ballot, no property qualifications for parliaments, payments for members of parliaments, equal elections, districts, and annual elections for parliaments. The Chartist was seen as a key step in the development of modern democracy in Britain. Flora Tristan was a French-Peruvian socialist, feminist, and activist during 1803 to 1844 that influenced later thinkers like Karl Marx and other French feminists. She was one of the earliest thinkers to link feminism with socialism. She believed in the unity of the working class regardless of gender or nationality, and advocated for the rights of workers and women, later on creating the Workers' Union in 1843 that called for an international workers' movement. During 1729 to 1797, Edmund Burke and Clemens von Metternich were both conservatives who feared revolution and chaos. Burke was more of a philosopher politician, while Metternich was a diplomatic statesman. Burke warned against abstract ideologies, whereas Metternich took practical steps to suppress revolutionary movements.